Night Watch Archives, Case File 004, The Hidden Giant, the first recorded sighting. Before it had a name, there are mysteries that arrive without warning. A single witness, a single encounter, a single impossible moment. And there are mysteries that seem to have always existed, waiting for someone to notice. The forests of South Carolina's Upstate have carried stories for centuries, long before anyone spoke of Bigfoot, long before the word Sasquatch entered American vocabulary. Hunters told of something large moving between the trees. Settlers wrote about a wild man. Mountain families warned children not to linger near lonely creeks after sunset. The Cherokee spoke of powerful beings that belonged to the high ridges long before the first European cabin was built beneath them. Those traditions became part of the region's oldest understanding of the wilderness. The names changed, the descriptions rarely did. A towering figure, broad shoulders, heavy footsteps, an intelligence that suggested something more than an animal, yet something less than human. For generations, these accounts remained little more than stories shared around campfires and kitchen tables. Most were never written down. Many disappeared with the people who experienced them. Others survived only because someone decided the account deserved preserving. Tonight, we begin with one of those preserved accounts. Not the most famous, not the most dramatic, but one that established a pattern investigators would recognize again and again. Across the Upstate, the forests surrounding Oconee County are unlike almost anywhere else in South Carolina. Steep ridges descend toward quiet lakes. Mountain streams disappear beneath dense hardwood forests. Even today, large sections of the landscape remain remarkably isolated. It is a place where visibility ends only a few yards beyond the trail, where sound carries farther than sight, and where silence often feels heavier than noise. For those who know these woods, they inspire respect, not fear. Respect. Because experienced hunters understand something city visitors often forget. The forest is never truly empty. Every sound belongs to something. Every movement has a source. When something does not fit that understanding, people notice. The first recorded sighting we examine tonight occurred during a period when modern cryptid investigation did not yet exist. There were no organized research groups, no internet databases, no television programs devoted to unexplained creatures. Only witnesses, trying to describe something they never expected to see. That is one reason this report remains significant. It was not influenced by popular culture. The witness was not searching for Bigfoot. In fact, the creature had not yet become part of everyday American conversation. What was observed stood entirely on its own. That independence gives early reports unusual value, whether ultimately explained or not. They emerged before later expectations could influence interpretation. Night Watch Archives considers those accounts especially important, not because they prove anything, but because they establish the earliest documented patterns. Tonight, we open the first file, not to prove that a hidden giant walks the forests of the Upstate, but to examine the report that helped transform generations of whispered folklore into a documented investigation. Because every enduring mystery begins the same way, with one witness who looked into the trees and realized something was looking back. The witness who had nothing to gain, One characteristic separates strong historical cases from ordinary stories: credibility, not because the witness must be believed, but because the witness deserves to be understood. The earliest recorded sightings from the Upstate rarely came from thrill seekers. They came from people whose lives depended upon knowing the woods: farmers, hunters, surveyors, fishermen, men and women who spent countless hours beyond the edge of town. They understood the difference between a black bear, a deer, a person, and something that simply did not belong. The first documented case examined in this investigation emerged from Oconee County during the 20th century. The witness was outdoors for an ordinary reason. There was no expedition, no search for strange creatures, no expectation of encountering anything unusual. Then, the forest changed. Many experienced outdoorsmen described the same sensation. The insects stop, birdsong disappears, the woods become unnaturally quiet. It lasts only moments, but those moments remain unforgettable. The witness later described exactly that silence, not frightening at first, simply wrong. Then came the sound, not the crash of a bear moving through brush, not the footsteps of another hunter, something heavier, measured, deliberate, as though whatever was moving had no concern about being heard. When the witness turned toward the sound, movement caught his attention along the edge of the timber. At first, he believed another person was standing among the trees. Then the figure straightened and continued rising. It stood far taller than any man, broad across the shoulders, covered in dark hair. The witness estimated only a few seconds passed before the figure stepped behind the trees and disappeared without making another sound. He did not pursue it. Most witnesses never do. Instead, he left the area, only later. After replaying the encounter repeatedly in his mind, did he report what he believed he had seen? That restraint matters. He never claimed certainty about what the creature was, only what he observed. A large, hair-covered figure, walking upright through the forest. Investigators reviewing early Upstate reports have consistently noted that witnesses tend to describe behavior rather than conclusions. They report size, movement, sound, location. They rarely begin by declaring they encountered Bigfoot. Instead, they describe an experience that does not fit any known animal familiar to them. That pattern appears repeatedly throughout the historical record preserved within the Upstate. Early regional investigations emphasize careful documentation of witness observations rather than extraordinary conclusions, reflecting the Night Watch Archive's philosophy of preserving testimony before interpretation. As additional reports accumulated, investigators began noticing similarities. Most sightings occurred near water. Many happened during the early morning or near dusk. Witnesses frequently described the same overwhelming impression: not aggression, awareness, the feeling that whatever they had encountered recognized them first. Those recurring details transformed isolated stories into something larger. A pattern. One report could be dismissed. Several similar reports demanded attention. The hidden giant was no longer simply a local legend. It was becoming an investigation, and with each new witness, the picture grew a little clearer. Not clear enough to solve the mystery, but clear enough to ask a new question. If these reports described the same phenomenon, how far back did the pattern actually go? A pattern emerges across the Upstate. One unexplained sighting can be dismissed. Two, maybe coincidence. But when similar accounts begin appearing across multiple counties, over multiple generations, investigators stop asking whether a witness was mistaken. They begin asking whether the witnesses are describing the same phenomenon. That is exactly what happened in the Upstate. The earliest documented reports did not remain isolated. Over time, additional witnesses stepped forward. A fisherman along Lake Kiowa, hunters in Pickens County, campers near Jocassee, residents outside Spartanburg, though separated by years, sometimes decades. Their descriptions followed a remarkably familiar pattern. The creature was consistently described as standing between 7 and 8 feet tall. Its shoulders appeared unusually broad. Its arms extended lower than expected for a human. The body was covered in dark brown, or nearly black hair. Witnesses rarely reported seeing facial details, not because they were absent, but because the encounters ended almost as quickly as they began. The figure would appear, pause, observe, then disappear into the forest with surprising speed. One detail appears repeatedly throughout the historical record: silence. Not the silence after the encounter, the silence before it. Birdsong would stop. Insects seemed to disappear. The forest itself appeared to pause. Only after that silence settled would witnesses report hearing heavy footsteps, a low vocalization, or movement through the trees. Experienced outdoorsmen noticed this pattern because they spent their lives listening to the woods. Several later investigators would eventually refer to this phenomenon simply as the quiet. Whether it represented coincidence, a natural predator response, or something entirely unrelated, remains unknown. Another recurring feature involved location. Very few reports originated in open country. Most occurred along transition zones, near creeks, river bottoms, lake shorelines, old logging roads, the edges where dense forest meets open ground. These natural travel corridors appear repeatedly throughout the documented Upstate case history. Geographic analysis of regional reports reveals repeated clustering near waterways, forest corridors, and remote wilderness areas, particularly within Oconee, Pickens, and the Jocassee region. Investigators found that pattern difficult to ignore. Animals use corridors, people use roads. If an unknown species existed, similar movement patterns would be expected. Of course, that conclusion proves nothing. Patterns suggest where questions should be asked, not how they should be answered. Night Watch Archives follows that same principle. We preserve observations, we resist assumptions. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of the Upstate reports is not what witnesses claimed to see, but what they did not claim. They did not describe attacks. They did not describe monsters. They did not report impossible behavior. Instead, most encounters lasted less than a minute. The witness observed the figure. The figure appeared to observe the witness. Then the encounter ended, almost every time. The creature chose distance rather than confrontation. That consistency stands in sharp contrast to popular media. Television often portrays Bigfoot as either an aggressive predator or an elusive myth impossible to approach. The historical reports from the Upstate suggest something different: a cautious presence, one that notices people, avoids people, and disappears before certainty can be established. Whether that behavior belongs to an undiscovered animal, a misunderstood natural phenomenon, or something still beyond explanation, is precisely why the investigation continues. Because after reviewing decades of reports, investigators reached a simple conclusion. The individual sightings varied. The pattern did not. And once a pattern emerges, a mystery becomes something more than folklore. It becomes a case worthy of continued investigation. The search for physical evidence. Eyewitness testimony begins an investigation. Evidence determines whether it continues. That has always been the greatest challenge surrounding the hidden giant. Unlike many wildlife investigations, there has never been a body, no bones, no confirmed DNA, no specimen that settled the question once and for all. Instead, investigators have spent decades documenting something less definitive. Tracks, broken trees, strange vocalizations, and patterns that refuse to disappear. Footprints remain the most common form of physical evidence reported throughout the Upstate. Hunters have discovered impressions in creek mud. Campers have photographed unusually large tracks along remote trails. Forestry workers have described finding barefoot prints where no one should have been walking. Many measured between 15 and 18 inches in length. Several displayed 5 distinct toes. Others were too poorly preserved for meaningful analysis. As with every cryptid investigation, not all tracks proved credible. Some were quickly identified as hoaxes. Others belonged to bears whose hind feet overlapped the front tracks, creating an illusion of a human footprint. Those cases matter just as much as the unexplained ones. Every eliminated explanation strengthens the credibility of the cases that remain unresolved. Night Watch Archives does not preserve evidence because it is extraordinary. We preserve evidence because it survives careful examination. Tree structures have also attracted attention. Throughout remote sections of Oconee and Pickens counties, researchers have documented trees bent into unusual formations. Large trunks crossing one another, fresh saplings woven between older growth, heavy branches stacked in ways some investigators believe appear deliberate. Foresters remain divided. Storm damage can create similar patterns. Snow and wind occasionally produce remarkable formations. Yet certain structures continue generating debate because of their repeated appearance in otherwise undisturbed areas. Reports of unusual tree structures, oversized footprints, and recurring vocalizations form a significant portion of documented upstate field investigations, though none have been universally accepted as definitive proof of an unknown species. Audio evidence presents another challenge. Across the Upstate, witnesses have reported deep howls, wood knocks, and vocalizations unlike those produced by known regional wildlife. Some recordings have been analyzed. Most remain inconclusive. The difficulty lies in comparison. Without a confirmed source, no recording can establish what produced it. It can only establish that something produced it. Technology has improved dramatically over the past 2 decades. Trail cameras, thermal imaging, drones, high-resolution digital photography. Researchers have carried every available tool into the forests. Yet the outcome remains remarkably consistent. More observations, more questions, very few definitive answers. To skeptics, that absence of proof speaks for itself. To investigators, It simply reflects the difficulty of documenting something that may actively avoid human contact. Both positions deserve consideration. Neither resolves the case. Perhaps the most valuable contribution made by modern researchers has not been discovering new evidence, but organizing the evidence already available. Individual reports have become searchable databases, geographic patterns have emerged, timelines have been constructed. Independent witnesses separated by decades can now be compared directly. The hidden giant has evolved from scattered folklore into one of the most thoroughly documented regional cryptid investigations in the southeastern United States. And yet, the central question remains exactly where it began. What, if anything, is leaving these reports behind? The investigation continues. Every mystery reaches a point where the available evidence can carry it no farther. The hidden giant has reached that point many times, and yet, the reports continue. Throughout this investigation, we have examined the earliest documented sightings, the recurring witness descriptions, the physical evidence, and the efforts of investigators who have spent decades walking the forests of the Upstate searching for answers. No single report proves the existence of an unknown primate. No photograph has ended the debate. No piece of evidence has achieved universal acceptance. That is the truth. But there is another truth. The reports have never stopped. Generation after generation, different witnesses, unknown to one another, continue describing remarkably similar encounters. A towering figure, heavy footsteps, an overwhelming silence before the encounter begins. A brief observation, followed by an equally sudden disappearance. Whether those similarities represent an undiscovered species, a deeply rooted cultural tradition, or a phenomenon still beyond modern understanding, remains unanswered. Perhaps that uncertainty explains why the hidden giant continues occupying such an important place within the history of the Upstate. It is not simply a monster story. It is part of the region's identity. Long before highways crossed these mountains, the Cherokee spoke of powerful beings inhabiting the high ridges. Frontier settlers described the wild man. 20th century witnesses reported Bigfoot. The names evolved, the landscape remained, the reports followed. Night Watch archives cannot determine where folklore ends and biological mystery begins. Our responsibility is different. We preserve the record. We separate documented observation from speculation. We recognize when evidence supports a conclusion and when it does not. The hidden giant deserves investigation, not because extraordinary claims demand belief, but because consistent reports deserve preservation. The forests of the Upstate remain among the most remote landscapes in the southeastern United States. Thousands of acres of wilderness continue stretching across Oconee, Pickens, Greenville, and beyond every year. Hunters enter those woods. Campers pitch their tents beside quiet rivers. Hikers disappear beneath the forest canopy. Most return with nothing more than memories of beautiful places. A few return with questions. Those questions become the archive, because every investigation begins exactly the same way. Someone experiences something they cannot explain. They tell another person. Eventually, someone writes it down. That simple act transforms a story into history. The hidden giant has been part of Upstate history for centuries. Whether it ultimately proves to be folklore, misidentification, or something entirely unexpected, will only be answered by future investigation. Until then, the file remains open for Night Watch Archives. This concludes only the first investigation within the Hidden Giant collection. Other witnesses remain. Other encounters wait within the archive. Some occurred beside Lake Jocassee, others deep within Sumter National Forest, still others along forgotten logging roads where the forest grows quiet before nightfall. Those files remain sealed for now. Case File 004 is now closed. The truth waits in the dark.